Netflix has thousands of period dramas, but most people keep watching the same handful on repeat. Meanwhile, incredible true stories and performances are sitting there with barely any views. Big casts, real history, films that deserve attention. Here are 10 Netflix period dramas that should be way more popular. Judy, 2019. Renee Zellweger won an Oscar for playing Judy Garland in her final months, performing in London in 1968 while fighting addiction and exhaustion. The film jumps between 1968 and flashbacks to young Judy on the MGM lot, showing how the studio destroyed her. Zellweger doesn't just impersonate Garland, she inhabits her, capturing both the performative charm and the desperation underneath. What makes it devastating is watching Judy try to hold it together for her kids while barely able to function. Jessie Buckley plays her assistant Rosalind, one of the few people who genuinely cares about her. The London concert sequences are heartbreaking, Judy forgetting lyrics, stumbling through performances but occasionally hitting moments of pure magic. The flashbacks show MGM executives force-feeding teenage Judy diet pills and controlling every aspect of her life. The film doesn't shy away from showing how Hollywood created and destroyed her. Finn Wittrock plays Mickey Dean's, her final husband, desperate and loving but unable to save her. The ending, knowing Judy died shortly after, makes everything hit harder. Free State of Jones, 2016. Matthew McConaughey plays Newton Knight, a Confederate medic who deserted and started an armed rebellion in Mississippi during the Civil War. Knight and a group of deserters, runaway slaves and poor whites created their own society in the swamps, refusing to support the Confederacy. What makes it fascinating is showing Southern resistance to the Confederacy. This wasn't the Lost Cause mythology, these were people fighting against wealthy plantation owners who started a war to protect slavery. Gugu Mbatha-Raw plays Rachel, a formerly enslaved woman who becomes Knight's partner. The film covers both the Civil War and Reconstruction, showing how freedom was systematically stripped away after the war. Mahershala Ali plays Moses, a formerly enslaved man who joins the rebellion. The production doesn't glamorize anything, showing the violence and poverty clearly. What's interesting is how the film intercuts with 1950s footage of Knight's descendant fighting racist laws, showing how his legacy continued. It's ambitious and messy, trying to cover too much history, but the performances are strong and the story deserves to be known. Widow Clicquot, 2023. This film tells the story of Barbe Nicole Ponsardin, who took over her husband's failing champagne business after his death in 1805 and built it into a global empire. Hayley Bennett plays Barbe Nicole, later known as Veuve Clicquot. When her husband dies, everyone expects her to sell the business. Instead, she takes over, experimenting with techniques to improve champagne production. What makes it compelling is showing a woman succeeding in business at a time when women couldn't legally own property without male permission. Tom Sturridge plays her husband Francois, and their relationship is tender before his death leaves her alone. The film captures Napoleonic-era France, beautifully showing both the devastation of constant wars and the luxury goods market that somehow survived. Barbe Nicole's invention of riddling, the process that makes champagne clear, is shown as genuine innovation. The film explores how she navigated sexism, financial risk, and wartime trade restrictions to build something lasting. Bennett gives a controlled, determined performance, showing a woman who refused to accept limitations. It's a quiet, elegant film about business and grief and perseverance. Bonnie Clyde, 2013. This two-part miniseries retells the Bonnie and Clyde story with more time than the 1967 film. Emile Hirsch plays Clyde Barrow and Holiday Granger is Bonnie Parker, two Depression-era criminals whose crime spree made them infamous. What sets this version apart is showing more of their backgrounds. Clyde's time in prison, Bonnie's poverty and dreams of being a poet, how they became who they were. The production captures 1930s Texas and the Midwest during the Dust Bowl, showing the desperation that made bank robbers folk heroes. William Hurt plays Frank Hamer, the Texas Ranger who eventually tracks them down. The series shows their gang, including Clyde's brother Buck and his wife Blanche, giving more depth to the supporting characters. The violence is brutal and unglamorous, showing both their crimes and the police response. What makes it work is not romanticizing them. They killed people, including law enforcement, but the film also shows how economic collapse created conditions where desperate people became outlaws. The ending is inevitable and violent, shot in slow motion just like the 1967 film. Maria, 2024. Angelina Jolie plays Maria Callas in this biopic covering the opera legend's final days in 1970s Paris. The film uses Callas's last week alive as a frame, showing her reflecting on her career and tumultuous life. Jolie trained extensively to capture Callas's physicality and presence. The flashbacks show her rise to opera stardom, her affair with Aristotle Onassis, and how her voice deteriorated over time. What makes it powerful is showing Callas as both an artistic genius and a deeply lonely woman. Her relationship with Onassis, who eventually married Jackie Kennedy, destroyed her emotionally. The film explores her complicated relationship with her mother, her perfectionism that pushed her voice too far, and her decline into isolation. Pier Francesco Favino plays a TV reporter documenting her final days. Director Pablo Larraín shoots it with the same dreamlike quality he brought to Jackie and Spencer, blurring reality and memory. The opera sequences are stunning, even with Jolie lip-syncing to Callas's actual recordings. It's a meditation on artistry, fame, and what it costs to be the best. The 6888, 2024. Tyler Perry directed this film about the 6888th Central Postal Directory Battalion, the only all-black women's Army Corps unit to serve overseas during World War II. Kerry Washington leads the cast as Major Charity Adams, commanding 855 women sent to England and France to clear a massive backlog of undelivered mail. The stakes are real. Soldiers weren't getting letters from home, killing morale. The women worked in unheated warehouses, processing millions of pieces of mail while facing both racism and sexism from white soldiers and officers. What makes it important is telling a forgotten story. These women served their country and got almost no recognition. The film shows both their professional competence and the prejudice they face constantly. The ensemble cast is strong, showing different women's experiences and personalities. The production captures 1945 Europe, showing the war's devastation. What's most powerful is showing how they succeeded despite everyone expecting them to fail. They processed the mail backlog in half the expected time. Perry's direction is straightforward, letting the story and performances carry the weight. This history deserves to be better known. Out of Africa, 1985. Sidney Pollack's epic romance won Best Picture and holds up beautifully. Meryl Streep plays Karen Blixen, a Danish woman who moves to Kenya in 1913 to start coffee plantation. Robert Redford is Dennis Finch Hatton, the hunter she falls for. What makes it more than just romance is showing colonialism honestly. Karen loves Africa, but she's part of the system exploiting it. Her plantation is built on taking Kikuyu land. The film doesn't excuse this, showing the inherent problems of colonial presence. The cinematography is stunning, shot on location in Kenya with sweeping landscapes. The relationship between Karen and Dennis is complicated. He refuses to be tied down and she wants commitment. Klaus Maria Brandauer plays her husband Braw, who gave her syphilis and spent all her money. What's most powerful is Karen's arc from naive romantic to someone who understands what she's lost and what she's taken. The ending, with the plantation failing and Dennis dying, strips away any romantic notions about colonial adventure. It's gorgeous, intelligent, and way deeper than typical epic romances. Schindler's List, 1993. Steven Spielberg's Holocaust masterpiece is on Netflix, and somehow people still haven't seen it. Liam Neeson plays Oskar Schindler, a German industrialist and Nazi party member who saved over 1,100 Jews by employing them in his factories. The film is shot in black and white, giving it documentary-like immediacy. What makes it devastating is showing both the systematic horror of the Holocaust and individual moments of humanity. Ralph Fiennes plays Amon Goth, the SS officer commanding Krakow Plazo camp, and he's terrifying, casually murdering people from his balcony. Ben Kingsley is Itzhak Stern, Schindler's accountant who helps identify Jews to save. The liquidation of the Krakow ghetto is one of the most brutal sequences in cinema. Spielberg doesn't look away from the violence and terror. What makes Schindler complex is showing his transformation, from profiteer exploiting cheap Jewish labor to someone genuinely trying to save lives. The ending, with Schindler breaking down over not saving more people, destroys you. The real survivors placing stones on Schindler's grave brings it all home. Essential viewing, period. Agnes Browne, 1999. Angelica Houston directed and stars in this Irish drama set in 1960s Dublin. Agnes is a working-class widow with 7 kids, trying to survive by selling fruit at a street market. When her abusive husband dies, she's relieved, but now has to support the family alone. What makes it warm is showing community, how Agnes's friends help her, how the neighborhood pulls together. Marion O'Dwyer plays Agnes's best friend Marion. The two of them navigate poverty, loan sharks, and grief with humor and determination. The film captures working-class Dublin beautifully, showing both the hardship and the resilience. Agnes dreams of seeing Tom Jones in concert, and that small hope keeps her going. Ray Winstone plays the loan shark threatening her, adding real menace. What sets it apart is refusing to be either miserably depressing or falsely uplifting. Life is hard, but Agnes finds joy anyway. The performance of Tom Jones at the end is earned, a moment of pure happiness after all the struggle. Huston's direction is assured and the performances feel lived in and real. It's a small, beautiful film about ordinary heroism. Albert Nobbs, 2011. Glenn Close plays Albert Nobbs, a woman passing as a man to work as a butler in 1890s Dublin. Close spent decades trying to get this film made, and her performance is extraordinary. Albert has lived as a man for so long that he's almost forgotten how to be anything else. When he discovers Hubert, another woman passing as a man played by Janet McTeer, Albert begins to imagine a different life. Mia Wasikowska plays Helen, a young maid Albert becomes fixated on, imagining they could run a tobacco shop together. What makes it heartbreaking is Albert's complete misunderstanding of human connection. He thinks having a shop and a wife is a transaction, not understanding love or partnership. McTeer is phenomenal as Hubert, who actually has a wife and lives a full life. The contrast between them shows what Albert has sacrificed to survive. Brendan Gleeson plays the doctor who sees through Albert but keeps the secret. The film explores gender, identity, and survival in Victorian Ireland, where women had almost no options. Close's performance is all repression and tiny moments of hope that get crushed. The ending is devastating and inevitable.